Oh, my mat has been occupied. There's your bed, sweetheart. Where you go in your bed? That's a girl. All right. I'm probably gonna lose my slippers. You go lie down, sweetie. She's gonna help me to talk about the theme and teach the breath work today. So our first class of the 12-week session for the fall. We're 6 months into a global pandemic, as you know. And I know from talking to people and checking in with my own self over the last couple of weeks, go lie down, go, that there's a lot of anxiety floating around right now with school starting and kids going back to university and just all of that. And none of us knows what's going to happen next. And so for me, I've been feeling the anxiety of not really feeling like I have a lot of ground underneath me to rest on. So I thought we'd address that in our class today. Go on. So I'm going to get this dog under control one of these days. Go on. So the Yoga Sutras says that the main reason that we suffer, well, there's lots of reasons that we suffer, but one of the reasons that we suffer, and one of the biggest reasons why we do yoga, is to bring the mind to a place where it feels calm and is not jumping all over the place. Go. You might have to get locked up soon. I thought, yes, a very professional lighting system and a camera, but I still got my lovely pets here to keep me company. Anyway, so oh dear, talk about being good at quelling anxiety. These two are definitely the bomb for that. However, back to where we were. So the Yoga Sutra says that the monkey mind is what creates a lot of anxiety for us. And if we can control the monkey mind, then we can come to a place of more calm and more peace. But the challenge is that the monkey mind seems often to be stronger than we are, to be more in control than we are. So how do we bring the mind to a state of calm and still? And that is basically the subject of the entire book of the Yoga Sutras, is how we do that. We're going to work today with a breathwork technique. Go lie down. All right. We're just going to have a little away time. Excuse me. Check them. There we go. There we go. That's a good girl. A little timeout. And we all need a little timeout from time to time, right? Oh dear. All right, I feel like I should start the recording again, but we'll just keep on going and chalk that up to practicing yoga with pets. So the breath technique that I'd like to introduce to you today is called Shitali breath. And Shitali breath is a calming breath. It's cooling, not necessarily cooling to the body, although it can be, but cooling to the emotions and to the mind. So we can be happy in a number of different ways. We can be happy in a way that's, they say rajasic. It's like the accumulation of wealth, and we get happy for, a moment. And then there's the other kind of happiness, the kind of happiness where we're kind of numbed out and we're not dealing with what's going on around us. We sort of put on blinders and we can be a little bit sort of content or happy in our bubble, but it's denying what's going on outside. And so the middle way, the way between, is called Satvik, and it means light. And this kind of happiness comes from within, from a contentness that comes from within. So this breath work, this breath technique, Shitali breath, when I was working in India doing my yoga therapy internship, what I noticed was pretty much every student who came into the clinic was taught this breath, this Shitali breath. And of course, I had learned this in my training, but it wasn't a breath that I practiced very often. So I was curious why. Why is it that we teach Shitali breath to pretty much every student, no matter if they come in with depression or anxiety or back pain or whatever it is, MS or Parkinson's? Why are we teaching everybody Shitali breath? And the answer I was told is because it is a very safe technique and it's safe for almost everybody. And it tends to balance. So it creates a balance between too much up here, too much mind stuff, too much hyperactivity, and it balances that, lethargy, the too little energy, the I just want to crawl in my hole. And so the way that we do Shitali breath, and actually I'm going to move a little closer to the camera so you can see me a little better, is that we curl the tongue like this. Now, that is not possible for everybody. So if that's the case for you, that's fine. You can still do the breath technique and it's just as effective. If you can't curl your tongue, you're going to place the tongue behind your teeth and you're going to draw the air in the sides of your mouth. So it's either through the sort of straw-like shape of your tongue or down the side. So you're breathing in through your mouth and you're going to breathe out through your nose, which is maybe a little bit opposite from some of the breath techniques that you might know. And there's also a head movement. So when we breathe in, the head starts down and it comes up. We're going to breathe out through the nose as we lower the head. So in through the mouth, lifting, exhale through the nose, lowering. Just like that. Now, if you're familiar with this breath, and I'm pretty sure that you're familiar with it, Kim, if you want to add, or if it feels like, yeah, want to add a little more to it, you can add alternate nostril exhale. So you'd inhale, then you're going to hold your breath as you lower your head and exhale through one nostril. And then inhale, hold your breath, exhale, other nostril. So a few different ways of doing that breath. So I invite you to try it out a little bit, see what feels right for you, and we'll sit together and do a couple minutes of Shitali breath together. And that's the way of bringing ourselves into this moment, focusing the breath, focusing our attention, and bringing some calming. Maybe you already feel calm today. It's not gonna make you too calm. It'll just help to balance whatever's going on. So continuing, if you're already working on that breath technique or starting, chin down. Lifting with an inhale, either holding your breath as you lower the head and then alternate nostrils, or just breathing out normally as you lower the head. Continue for a couple more rounds. And if you're doing the alternate nostril version, whichever nostril you exhaled from first, you'll exhale from the other one to end. So you've done an even number. And then take a moment to simply sit and observe your breath and how you feel from a couple of minutes of Shitali breath. So as you observe, I want to say that, even though I introduced the breath technique as balancing and calming breath, that may not be the effect that it has on you. So please honor your experience, notice what's happening for you. And if the experience that I suggest isn't the experience you're having, it doesn't mean that you're doing it wrong. Sometimes when we learn something new, we're also so focused on the details, right? And we may even choose to do sort of the more full version with the alternate nostril, even though we're still getting familiar with the breath, because we think more is better. And then because we're trying to do too many things at once, and where am I doing? What's my head doing? That we actually feel more anxious. So I would say keeping it super, super simple and not trying to overdo it, especially when you're learning something new. All right, so we're going to come just to a comfortable seat. So where you maybe already are, you can, if you're sitting on something, you can move it out of your way, and we'll kick the legs side to side with the feet out in front. Okay, and then come back to the center. Stretch your legs out, give them a shake. And we'll bring one knee up in towards the body. And you're going to lift the foot, take the foot with the hand, opposite hand, and one hand on the knee. And you want to flex your foot so that your ankle and foot stay in line. And we'll rock the leg side to side. Bring a little movement into the hip. If you're comfortable and you want to go a little further, you can wrap your arms around your leg. But I find for me, the hands on the knee and foot are plenty to warm up. All right, and then bring the knee in, give it a squeeze, lift your foot and stretch that leg up and lower it down. And then we'll bring the other knee in and take the foot, flexing the foot in one hand, knee in the other, rocking across the body. Great, coming to center, bring the knee in, give it a hug. Reach behind, lift the leg, lift the heart, and slowly lower. You can use your hands to support you as you give the legs a little shake. Great. And for the next one, if you have, this cushion's a little bit thick that I'm going to sit on, but a folded blanket may be enough. Yeah, that's too much. So you can either sit right on the floor or just raise the hips very slightly. So bring one knee in again, and this time let the knee move down to the side. Use your hands behind you to lift your spine tall. Flex the leg that's straight. And we'll lift up with the breath in. And come forward, exhaling, bringing the hands to the leg, let the head come down. Inhale and lift straight up. We'll do this a few times dynamically. Exhale, coming forward. Inhale, lifting. At this time, you can stay for a few breaths. It's not about going as far as you can as we warm up. Really let your body relax over your leg. You're not trying to reach your foot with your hands or bring your head to your knee or anything like that. Let's come all the way up, breathing in. Okay, bring the hands down. And keeping the knee that's bent, keep that hand on the ground behind you to lift up. Take the other hand and reach it across to the knee. And then press into the hand on the ground, lift the heart, and come into a very gentle twist for a couple of breaths. Good. Lifting up to the center, breathing in. Exhale to release. You can lean back to switch sides. And if you find you want some support under that knee that's out to the side, you can certainly bring a block or a blanket under there. We'll lift up with the breath in, same thing here. Exhaling, coming forward. Let your head release down. Inhale, lift up. Exhale forward, continue a few more times at your own pace. And again, if you want to stay for a few breaths, go ahead and stay. Relax your shoulders, your neck, your head. Tune into and follow your breath. That might help to keep your attention from wavering and wandering. And lifting all the way up. Take the arms down to your sides. The hand that corresponds to the bent knee, you're going to leave it on the ground behind you and lift the other arm up. Breathing in and then turning to bring your hand as you exhale to your opposite knee. Using the hand on the ground to lift you tall. So it's a nice, gentle twist. Turning back toward the center. Lean back, stretch the legs out, and give everything a little shake. And then we'll come around onto all fours. You can just swing your legs around and come onto your hands and knees. Lifting the tail, lifting the head, breathing in. As you exhale, rounding your back and moving to child's pose. Repeating that a few times. And if you like, you can actually do Shitali breath with this movement. You inhale through your tongue. Coming up, no alternate nostril this time. Exhale through your nose, moving back. Coming to child's pose. Take a few breaths there. The arms can stay stretched out overhead, or you could bring the hands under your head or wherever they're comfortable. And then let's try to get a side bend. So if you shift your hips to one side, walk the hands the other way. Take a few breaths there. Getting that stretch in the opposite side of your body. Then back to center, shift your hips the other way. Walk the hands the opposite direction and take a few breaths there. And then come back to the center. We'll come up to all fours with a breath in. And exhale, rounding and moving to child's pose. We'll do that a couple more times. If you want to add on, stretch out opposite arm and leg as you come up. Bring them in as you come back. A few more at your own pace. And then coming back to all fours, you can tuck your toes under, shift your weight back towards your heels, stretching out the feet a little. You can walk the hands back and maybe sit up on your heels if that feels okay for your feet. While you're here, if your hands are on the ground, you can do some movements to move the hands to the sides and back around. If you're sitting up, you can circle the wrist a few times. And then we'll come back to all fours and lift the knees to come to downward dog. In downward dog, walk your feet in place as if you're walking on the spot. Let your head completely release. And walk the feet back a little. Make your downward dog a little wider. And then walk your feet a little forward. Make your downward dog a little narrower. Play around with that distance, walking forward and back. This is in a foot or two space. And then lowering the knees. Coming to child's pose for a few breaths. A couple of other things that we'll practice today aside from Shitali breath to help bring this emotional balance and calming is really paying attention to what we're doing, keeping the mind mindful as we practice, and slowing things down. So I know for me, when I get anxious, everything feels like it's moving too fast. There's too much to do and no one to help me. My story. You probably have your own story about what anxiety is for you. But for me, it's too much to do and not enough help to do it. So slowing things down, we realize that in this moment, there's not so much we need to do. Everything's okay. Well, let's come back into downward dog. From here, we're going to take the left foot forward between the hands and turn the right foot out to the side so your toes point to the right, and then lift up in Warrior One. And really tune into your Warrior One. So back heel pressing into the earth, front knee bent so that it's just over the ankle. If you feel any tension in the lower back, you can try engaging your core to flatten out your lower back, or you can try stepping your back foot a little bit forward or your front foot a little back. So the shorter your stance, the less arch in the back. So when you find just the right place for you, let's move from here, the full upright warrior, to the forward bend, the hands to the ground or the knee or blocks if you have them. You'll inhale, lifting the body, and exhale, coming forward. If you want to move slower than your breath allows, just take extra breaths and move at a comfortable pace. As you come forward this time, stay for a few breaths. Focus on letting your head go. You can move your front leg straighter or bend and straighten it to invite some length into the hamstrings of your left leg. And then we're going to step back to downward dog, walking the heels down again. Now your heels do not have to reach the ground in downward dog. That may or may not be possible for you. Having the feeling of reaching through the heels as you press the heels toward the ground. And then come up onto your toes, bend your knees, and really lengthen through your upper body. Press into your palms and grow long from your fingertips to your hips. And then from there, we'll step the right foot forward and turn the left foot out. And you'll lift up into Warrior One. And again, you may need to play around with how far your feet are apart to be as comfortable or as challenged as you want to be today. Find your ground, press into the back heel, the outer edge of your back foot, spread out your toes and feel the earth under your feet. Take a breath in, and as you exhale, flow forward and continue. Lifting with a breath in, releasing forward as you exhale, or again, following the pacing that suits you and breathing normally. This time you can stay in the forward bend. It could be hands on the knee or shin, blocks if you have them, or the ground. And then you may want to move your legs straighter or bend and straighten. Again, to invite a little ease and length into the back of that front leg. From here, we'll step forward, both feet side by side. Let your head release for a moment. Really let it go. Feel the weight of your head creating traction for your spine. Keep your knees soft. Back along the arms can dangle, or you can hold your hands tucked into opposite elbow creases. And when you're ready to come upright, you're going to let your arms hang. You're going to let your head be heavy. You're going to bend your knees and slowly roll up, letting your head come up last until it rests over your shoulders. And then from there, we'll lift and roll the shoulders. Lift and roll them back. Breathing in and breathing out. Right. And then coming to mountain pose. So your feet are hip distance apart. By hips, I mean the bones, somewhere, the pelvis, not the flesh of the outer hips, which is usually wider than the bones. Hopefully it's wider than the bones. So we want to be lined up so everything lines up to those. You can feel them maybe right in the front here, these two bones of your pelvis. Press down into your heels. And then roll your feet out and in. You're twisting the ankle a little, inversion and eversion. And then find a place where your feet are even on the ground, so they're not rolled in or rolled out. So your ankles line up over your feet. They're not turned in or turned out. Now, you may have a tendency one way or the other, but see if you can even look down and correct your tendency a bit. I can see as I look down that my left ankle tends to want to roll in. I'm exaggerating it a bit. And I'm just going to put a little more weight into the outer edge of that foot to find that evenness. And then lifting your toes, rock your weight onto your heels. You can leave the balls of your feet down and then rock forward, letting the weight come onto the balls of your feet. You rock back, you can lift the toes, spread them out, bring them down, let your weight come forward and back. And then find a place where you're balanced in between. You can check down and make sure you haven't gone back to your habit of turning in or out with your ankles. And from here, taking the arms to the sides, we'll lift the heels up as we breathe in, lifting the arms, and then lower the heels down as you exhale and lower the arms. If you want to take a couple of breaths to raise and lower, so you can slow down, that's fine. Or just move with the pace of your breath if that's comfortable. And then when your heels come back down, pause there again. You might look down and just check that you're lined up, ankles over your feet, knees over your ankles, hips over your knees. And then imagine from your sit bones, these bones that are the back of your pelvis now, the ones you feel when you're sitting down. Imagine from those two bones, a root going down each leg, down through your heel and down into the earth. So your heels take a little bit more of the weight. Your thighs are going to engage and lift. Your abdominal muscles, not clenched, but a little bit engaged. And drop down into the earth. And then feel that corresponding lift from the upper body, just like a tree's roots that go down the trunk, lift. The crown of the head lifts. And it's like the crown of the tree opening to the sun, to the sky. And you may feel that connection, your own connection to the earth as you sink down into your roots. Your own connection to the heavens as your crown opens to receive light, figurative light, literal light. And then let's take the head and tilt it to one side, reaching down with the opposite arm. If you want a little tiny bit more stretch, don't yank your head, just place your hand for a little bit more stretch. And then release to come to the center. Taking the head the other way. Again, reaching down with the opposite hand and maybe just adding a bit of weight with your other hand. And back to center. Roll the shoulders down and back, and then let your chin come down toward the front of your chest while the chest lifts toward the chin. Slowly lift the head to center. So turning the head to one side, we'll do a little half circle to come up to the other side, and then a half circle back. Tune into it and notice how your neck feels as you do the movement. And then eventually come back to the center, lifting the head. And bend and straighten the knees a few times, releasing. We've been standing still for a bit. And we'll take the feet apart, bring the hands to the hips, and do a few circles, releasing the hips. One way and then the other. And then back to center. So come onto, if you're on a mat, you may not be, but come to the front of your space so you've got some room to step back behind you. And we'll take a breath in and reach up. And then exhale, fold forward. Bend your knees, soften your neck, and pause here for a few breaths. You can move your head side to side or forward and back if you like. I'm going to take the right foot and step it back, turning the toes to the right again for warrior one. Inhale and lift up. And then keeping your left knee exactly where it is, we'll turn the hips and shoulders towards the right into Warrior Two. From Warrior Two, coming down to side angle, so the hand or the forearm could rest on the thigh or reach down the inside of the leg. So coming straight up with that upper arm, and we'll make some circles. So we're going to come down by the hip, turn the shoulders toward the ground, sweep the fingertips over the ground, and then come overhead, turning to the side once again. So hand comes down by the hip. I'm going to turn toward the ground and make that circle big over the head, reaching up and back down. Okay, lifting all the way up this time as you come around. And then we'll lift the back heel, lift the back palm, swing the arm over your head as you pivot. Bring your hands down and let's step back to downward dog. And walk the feet in place. Come up onto your toes. Bend your knees. Lengthen from your fingertips to your hips. Let your head go. Big breath in as you exhale. Finish your exhale and then step your right foot forward, turning your left foot out. Inhaling to lift. Warrior One. Keeping your right knee where it is. You can open your left foot as you turn to the left, if that helps. Breathing in and then exhale, hand or forearm onto your thigh. And this upper arm is going to circle down by the hip. You'll turn towards the earth, reaching up over your head, and then turning to the side again as you come around. We'll do a few circles like that. And the next time the arm is circling around, let it lift you right up to Warrior Two. Lift your back heel, lift your back palm, pivot, bring your hands down and step forward. Let your head go. Take a breath or two here. Soft knees, soft neck. Let the arms dangle or hold your hands into opposite arm creases, elbow creases. And then we'll release and come all the way up. Breathing in. Exhaling to release. Great. So we'll keep going. We'll do an actual sun salutation this time. Breathing in, lifting. Exhale, soften your knees, come forward. And let's inhale, hands to shins and lengthen. Exhale and fold forward. Take the right leg back, and this time instead of warrior, we'll come to lunge. So the toes are on the ground. Drawing the back hip forward, forward hip back, as if you're trying to pull the legs towards each other. And then if you like, option to inhale and lift up into high lunge. Bending the back knee if you feel like your lower back needs a little more length, or straightening and using your core to flatten the lower back if necessary. We'll bring the hands down. We're going to step back to plank this time. And pause here in plank and really imagine a straight line from your head to your heels. So your bum isn't up or sagging down. You're pressing into the arms, shoulders wide. Good. Let's lower the knees. And then bend your elbows and let your body roll down. So your thighs, belly, chest, forehead come down. You can flatten your feet or keep them tucked under if that's better for your ankles. Slide your hands forward so the elbows and hands are on the ground, and then press down with your lower arms, press down with your hips. And as you start to lift your head, And just pull back with your arms toward your hips to lengthen the spine. Good. Find length here, looking slightly down so the back of the neck stays long. Good. Keep that traction pulling back with the arms as you come down. Slide the hands back. Lift up to all fours. And slowly come back to child's pose. You can have the hands stretched out or come under your head. Maybe rock a little side to side. And to come up, we'll stretch the arms out, come up to all fours, tucking your toes under, lift up to downward dog. Walk on the spot. And then lift the heels, bend the knees, and lengthen from the fingertips to the hips. Big breath in, exhale fully. At the end of your exhale, step forward with your right foot into lunge again. Again, you're drawing the hips towards each other. So this right hip is moving back, left hip drawing forward, and then option, if you like, to lift up into high lunge. And again, tune in and check in. If you need a little more core support to lengthen the lower back, or bend the back knee, which helps to lengthen the lower back, or maybe that back bend just feels delicious to you, in which case, really lift the heart. Good, let's bring the hands down, step forward, soften your knees, let your head release. Couple of breaths here. And then you'll inhale, hands to shins, lengthen. Exhale and fold forward. Inhale, come all the way up. And exhale, releasing your arms to your sides. Wonderful. So I hope you're feeling a little more warmed up now. I am. And we'll work a little bit with balance. If you bring your hands to your hips, I'm going to start by raising up one knee and then taking it out to the side. Bring it back to the center and lifting the foot to the side. And then back to center and down. So knee up, taking the knee to the side, bringing the knee back to center, and then lifting the foot. So you're kind of twisting the knee in and back down. We'll lift, come out to the side, and back to center, inward twist, and down. I find my hip lifts a little bit, trying to keep it down as I do that internal rotation and back down. So we'll switch it this time. So we'll come up, rotate around, and come down. Other side, rotate all the way around and come down. Great. Wonderful. The next one, we're going to lift, it's to stretch the hip flexors a little bit and engage the glutes. So if you watch from the side, normally when we take one leg back, we tend to lean forward like in Warrior 3. But we're going to take the leg back without leaning the upper body forward. So you can bring your hands to your hips, lift the heart, draw the elbows back a little bit. Take one foot back, toes on the ground. And then see, could you lift the toes even slightly off the ground without bending the leg? So it's not this, right? I'm not bending the leg, and it's not this, Warrior 3. It's just staying upright, engaging the glutes, engaging the hamstrings, lifting the leg, and then bring it down. Try the other side. So lifting and bringing it down. Good. And release. Let's do a couple of forward bends. Breathing in, reaching up. Exhale, big circle. Soften forward. Let your back release. We'll repeat that a few times. Coming up with the breath in. Coming forward as you exhale. Okay, this time as you come upright, stay there, releasing the arms down to your sides. And again, feet hip distance apart, parallel to one another. Feel your heels, that line from your sit bones all the way down your legs going into the earth. And the trunk lifting. It's actually just a coincidence that there's a tree on my shirt today, but it's a beautiful reminder of that lifting and opening through the upper body like a tree. So we will move into tree pose. You can shift your weight to one side, release the knee coming onto the toes on the other side, and turn your knees, you're externally rotating it to the side, and then bring your foot in. You can keep the toes on the ground, or lift to the ankle or the calf, or reaching down to guide your foot into the thigh. And then from there, you can stretch the arms to the side, bring them into the heart, or stretch them up overhead. The toes of the lifted foot are pointing toward the ground. The knee is pointing toward the side. If you lose your balance, that's okay. You just find your grounding again and come back into your pose. When you're ready, you'll release the knees and then release that leg. And pause for a moment. Notice the difference between the two sides. And then when you're ready, we'll shift. So coming onto your toes, turning the knee out to the side, finding your tree position that works for you. I actually find it easier with my leg up in my thigh, but for some people, the foot just wants to slide, slide, slide. So if you think about pressing into the thigh, if you're there, if not, just avoid the knee area and be either above or below the knee for keeping the knee safe. And then find the position for your arms that helps you to feel connected to your roots, as well as lifted, as well as balanced. Right? So it may be here in the heart or overhead or up to the side. Okay, and then let's release and release. And you can give the legs a little shake, maybe shake it all out. Big breath in, exhale, and sink into your heels again. So take a breath in. We're going to come into Utkatasana, the half squat, lifting up with the breath in, and then exhale, coming to half squat. Hands can come onto the thighs, and then inhale, lift. And coming with actually Ardha Utkatasana. Ardha is half. Utkatasana is the chair pose or squat. So this time we are going to stay for a couple of breaths. If you want to make it more challenging, lift the arms. The higher you lift them, the more challenging it becomes. And the lower you sink your hips, the more challenging it becomes. And let's lift and release. Give it a shake. So the next one is kind of a version of tree. It's a half lotus pose. standing half lotus pose. And you may decide to just repeat tree pose if that's more accessible for you. If you want to go to another level, the half bind here is you lift the leg up and bring it across your body, reaching for the top of your foot from behind. So you don't want to reach from in front of your foot, you want to come from behind. And what that does is it opens and externally rotates the shoulder as opposed to this internal rotation. So you can either stay here and hold the foot, or if you want a little bit more, you can try that half squat. And once you bend the knee, you may be able to lift the arms away from the foot. Good. When you come up, you'll want to catch the foot again and then release. So we'll do the same thing with the other side. So shifting your weight, reaching for the foot, holding the top of the foot near the toes from behind. And again, this might be enough for you. Just holding the leg in this position is quite a stretch for the hips. If you want to challenge yourself a bit more, you're going to sink down into the standing leg and maybe release the foot. When you lift up, you're going to want to catch that foot again, or it'll slide right down. And then release. Lovely. Okay, bend and straighten your legs a few times to let that go. Great, and then you can take the feet apart. Let the hips go side to side, or in a circle, front to back. One way and then the other. And then you can walk the feet even a little bit wider, keeping the feet roughly parallel to one another. Let's take the arms up, breathing in. You'll want to bend your knees as you come forward. Bringing the hands under the shoulders, let the head release down. And then come up to the fingertips, bend your knees, find a flat back. And fold forward again. You can keep the hands on the ground just slightly ahead of your feet and bend one knee, keeping the other leg straight. Bend the other knee, keeping the opposite leg straight. Just find the position for your hands that's comfortable. It's out under your shoulders, the spine nice and long, going from side to side. Right, and then coming to the center, letting the head release. You can walk the hands back a little. Knees can be as bent or straight as you like. And then with a little bend in the knees, press into the feet, strong legs, lift all the way up. Big breath in, exhaling to release. And shuffle the feet in towards each other. And come back to mountain posture. So again, feel your heels go down from your sit bones, those rope-like sciatic nerves acting like roots into the earth. As you feel really grounded and centered in your lower body, feel a little lift and lengthening in your torso and the trunk and in the crown of your head, reaching up. Come back to your breath. Imagine you're drawing energy up from the earth just as though your roots were pulling energy into the tree from the earth. And as you exhale, let go of any tension you may still have in your body. Soften your jaw, your shoulders, your hands, your arms. Exhale, sinking that energy back to the earth. Inhale, pulling it up from the earth. Great. And then let's keep that sense of really feeling an inward focus and come down onto your mat. So when you come onto your mat, let your hands come to rest on your belly with your knees bent. And just take a moment to observe your breath as it is. Feel the fullness of the inhalation, the softening of the exhalation. And then let your arms come out to the side. They could be shoulder height, could be slightly higher with bent elbows or slightly lower. As we move into the twist, you may need to adjust your arms to find just the right amount of stretch for your shoulders and chest. You'll start here with a breath in. As you exhale, knees go to one side. You're going to turn to look the other way. And then knees come back to center, head comes back to center, and you switch. Continue moving at your own pace, moving with your own breath. And then if you like, you can stay. So I see my camera has somehow turned off. But you can stay to one side. And while you're staying, if you like, you can move one leg further across the body. Right, and if you're twisting and you're staying in that twist, you can kind of play around with where the opposite arm is. So as you're going one way, the arm can kind of move around and get just the right amount of twist. And then when you go the other way, again, playing around with getting just the right amount of twist. And then when you're feeling complete with the twist, you're going to bring your Knees up into your chest, one hand on each knee, and you can do the movement Apanasana, moving the knees away and then moving the knees towards you. Inhaling as the knees move away and exhaling as you bring them towards you. And then when you feel complete with that, we'll move into Shavasana. So if there's any other movement that you want to do before, now would be the time. And then when you're ready, you can find your way to stillness. Now that could be seated if you prefer, or it could be lying down. And as you find your way to stillness, bring your awareness and your attention back to your breath. No special breath technique here. You just want to breathe and be aware of your breath. There's nothing you need to do. Simply breathing in, breathing out. Let the breath happen. You don't need to control it. Just letting your mind be focused on the breath. With each exhalation, feel yourself letting go of tension. Softening wherever you notice there's holding. Maybe checking in with your jaw, around your eyes. Soften your neck and shoulders and let the arms be completely relaxed. Hands letting go. Feel how the breath moves your body like a wave. No effort required from you. The breath simply moves through. Feel the weight of your pelvis and your hips on the ground. Soften the lower abdominal area, soften the buttocks, soften the hip flexors and the front of the hip. And as you exhale, let your pelvis get heavier. Just let it sink into the earth. Soften and sink down through the thighs, the knees, the calves, ankles, feet. Exhale and let go even more. I'll share with you as you continue to rest and breathe and let go. Share with you one of my favorite chants that reminds us that we are whole and complete just as we are. We are enough. Reminds us that we're all connected even when we feel deeply separated from one another. Even when we feel deeply separated from ourselves, there's a wholeness that can't be broken. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamidachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. As you're ready, start to deepen your breath. If you want to stay longer in Shavasana, you can just ignore my instructions from here. But if you're ready to move on with your day, you can start to breathe a little more deeply, inviting a bit more breath in, feeling the fullness of the inhale, softening with the exhale. And with that, you can gradually start to move and stretch in any way that would feel good. Eventually, rolling onto one side and coming back to sit. Bring your palms together. So as you go into your day, back into your day, you might take this idea of clearing the mind by focusing on sensation or breath, or using that breath technique, Shitali breath, to calm when you're feeling heightened or anxious. And take the tools of yoga off your mat, carry them with you as you go through your day. Namaste.